Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to the next episode of UnitedWeTech, which is our monthly chat interviews with women technologists. Happens to be Heidi Hasting, all the way from Australia. Welcome, Heidi. And before we get started, I want to just say a word of thank you to our sponsor, Sequel Taylor Consulting, which is run by an ex-colleague and a friend of mine, Joe Fleming. Joe offers remote DBA and consulting services to people who need help with DBA work or HADR or performance tuning, any database related stuff. He is an amazing DBA himself, and if you have any needs in this regard, please check him out. Thank you, Joe, for sponsoring us.
I'm just excited.
Good. We're excited.
Even got my your superpower is to empower Microsoft shirt on.
Oh, nice. I have my my data platform WIT shirt on.
Oh, how cool is that?
I don't have anything fancy to show off in that regard. Yeah.
She does have a cool hat.
Yes. A very warm welcome to everybody else who may be watching this recording. And I have with me my co-lead Leslie and our guest for this month, Heidi. So we are going to get started with introducing ourselves and then getting on with the talk.
Great. My name is Leslie Andrews. With Mala, we are the co-leads of the data platform WIT. We would love for you to go sign up for our newsletter at dataplatformwit.com. We're super excited to have Heidi here with us today. Heidi, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm Heidi Hasting. I'm from Australia, hence the accent. I'm coming to you from my evening, which is really cool, doing multiple time zone things. I'm a business intelligence professional. I'm currently doing consulting for a company called Expose, also known as Purple Peeps around the office, because we tend to wear purple, but we also have a purple logo. But I do everything data. So I'm an ex-software developer, but now I'm all about data platform.
I'd fit right in with the purple people.
You would fit right in. You can come join, we're hiring.
Okay. Shh, don't tell anybody that I said that. Well, we're really excited to have you here with us today. So Heidi and I think we first met at Summit, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And I think it might have been
both
lightning.
I've seen her at the summit too.
Yes. So
Yes.
Heidi comes for Summit. Are you coming this year?
Hopefully, fingers crossed.
Fingers
I'm hoping
crossed.
to get there and everything going well. Then I'll fly to New Zealand after that.
Oh, that would be super fun.
Another data conference. Yeah.
Oh, very cool. I'm going to Data Grilling next week, week after. I know.
Jealous.
So excited. So,
For those of you watching, if you have not heard of any of these events, Google them or use your favorite search engine, as Microsoft people would say, and check them out. Because if there's one in your region or there's one close by, totally recommend going to them.
absolutely. You get to meet really cool people like Heidi and Mala. Maybe me. So Heidi, what got you into data? I know you used to work for the government.
I did used to work for the government. It's actually really weird because I grew up on a farm in a really small country town here in South Australia. And then I thought, well, I really like doing cross stitch, which is like a craft.
Oh, how wonderful. A fellow cross stitcher.
Mala cross stitches.
I'll have to show you my mallet because I'm like this close to finishing my current one. But
It's
I was
the
like,
red flower one, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So I have to show you the one I'm working on right now. I have to.
Oh, totally.
Okay, you keep talking. All right, so you
While you go grab it.
You grew up on the
Yeah,
farm.
so
and
I
you
grew up
cross
on the
stitch.
farm. Love doing cross stitch. Love playing computer games with my brother. And I went, well, I can't do cross stitch at university. So what's the next thing I like? I like computers. So let's go do computer science. So I ended up doing computer science and was working on some open source programming. And Rob Farley, who's actually from the SQL community, got in touch. And then I transitioned into doing just data platform. Before that, I was doing software development. And then I went into data. Rob gave me the opportunity and I've been there ever since.
So this is my kitty.
You may have to turn off your blur.
Can you see it better?
Wow.
No. You got to turn off your blur.
I see glimpses of it.
Turn off my blur. Oh, I see. Okay, background. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Ooh.
Okay, hang on a second.
Hang on, mine's
Are
within
you going to
range.
go get yours, Heidi?
Let me see if I can get mine. Ooh. Hopefully you can. Now I will probably.
There you go. Yes.
How beautiful it is. That is gorgeous.
Blend in with my face. Come on. But yes, so it's like
there,
almost
right there, Mala, look, Mala.
I saw it.
It's
Saw it. It's
beautiful.
It's almost done. This is
Yeah.
what my
Almost done. It is.
I'm not doing tech. I'm doing cross stitch
Yeah, it is totally worth it.
and watching TV. I love watching TV.
What are your favorite kind of shows?
Ooh, NCIS Survivor. Like you were watching Survivor. I'm like, oh, that means
Yes.
there's new episode coming up.
Yes.
Survivor, yes. I'm actually watching Deadliest Catch at the moment.
Oh, very cool.
Love watching Deadly. I like to diversify. So sometimes I'm watching like crime, like Law and Order. Other times I'm watching like The Real Housewives. Other times I'm watching like The Home Edit. I just watch a bit of everything.
That's awesome.
It's good. It's good because I can cross stitch and watch TV. One of the things I can do.
Yeah,
At the
there
same
the blur
Oh,
is
there we go.
gone.
Now the blur is
Can you
gone.
see it better?
Yes. Now we can see
Wow.
your kitty cat.
That's gorgeous.
So it's not done yet, and I plan to complete it this weekend, this holiday weekend. We get 2 days off, so I get 5 days, and I'm planning to work my kitty. No software.
You'll have a laugh at this. As I was doing this one, I was also doing the learn modules for AI. And so I
Okay.
keep going, can I use computer vision to recognize my stitches and tell me how much % complete this thing is? So I was literally like doing the training going, how can I apply this to my cross stitch?
So that I can get an estimate of how close I am to being done.
I've been taking like every day I work on it, I take a photo at the end of the day, and I started pretty much January 1. Like I got it as a Christmas present. So I started January 1 and then it's like almost June and I'm almost done. So I'm like, how long and then I was thinking, can I chart how long it took me?
How many stitches per day?
I was like, I can work out, I can turn this into data. I'm sure of it.
Yes. You can have your own cross stitch website where people could like upload their photos every day and you could give them their analysis.
Oh, it'd be great.
Yeah.
You know, time to completion.
So a few years ago, my husband and I, we like to do puzzles. And, we could do like 1,000-piece puzzle in a weekend, right? Just a couple of days. And I found this 3,000-piece puzzle. I was like, oh, we could do 1,000-piece in a couple of days, 3,000, maybe a week, 2. No, it's like an exponential thing. It took us like 3 months to do that puzzle. We had puzzle pieces all over the room. And we had like extra tables and platforms set up to put the pieces on. And when that one was done, I glued it and framed it and hung it up because I'm never doing that puzzle again, ever.
This is the worst part about big projects. It's like I get it out, I put it somewhere, but if it's gonna need to stay there for longer than a day, it's like, uh-oh, how do I pack it away?
Especially now, like since we work from home, I mean,
I know.
you got stuff everywhere. Like, where am I going to do something?
I know space is at a premium. Luckily, this camera's on blur because this is my lounge room behind me, but my desk is just a nightmare.
So are you working on any cool projects at work?
I think any cool project for me is one where I learn stuff and a little bit challenged. Like I don't want to be exponentially challenged because then it can be overwhelming. So as long as it's got a touch of challenge, touch of like familiarity, and then something I'm learning. So I'm doing a migration from on-prem to Azure with a partial lift and shift, partial modernization. So for me, it's been really, really cool. And it's also, I've identified areas where Microsoft will kind of lead you towards the latest and greatest, which is fine. But I'm doing a lift and shift of like SSIS to managed instance. And I try and do something where it's not project deployment model. And I go, where's the information about this specific scenario, which is still a valid scenario. It's just not the preferred approach.
Exactly.
It's not the fully modern approach. So it's been challenging doing that, but learning all the different things that we can do, and then you think you're going all right and something comes up. Today I was doing ADF CICD, and the ARM templates just decided I'm not going to include this property, even though you've told me it's a parameter. I'm just going to drop it out of the template altogether. And so I've been trying to debug that today. So it's been really fun, like doing a bit of pipelines, bit of SSIS, bit of database, bit of MI, bit of Elastic Pool, bit of Power BI in there. And I'm so thankful my past roles had premium, because when I'm not working in premium and I've got 60 plus reports, I've got to change and cut over, and I can't use deployment pipelines. I'm just like, this shouldn't take very long. How long does it take to change a connection string? A couple of minutes, if that. Download the file, open the file. No, you got to change your connection string, wait for the refresh, then publish. And I'm like, it's going to take a little bit longer than I thought. Good plan. But so it's been really, really cool to do all those sorts of things and then train a team. And on top of that, I'm doing a TFS to Azure DevOps migration as well. So it's like, which I've done before. So for me, that's a little bit of familiarity.
So say more on that. I think that would be of interest to a lot of people, because that's so rarely documented or easy to get. I remember trying to do one a long time ago, very long time ago. And back then, at least, it wasn't documented.
No. So I did it. I think the first time I did it was probably, was it 2 years ago? It might have been 2 years ago now. A lot of people don't realize that TFS, back in the day, it was TFS, then it became Visual Studio Team Services Server, and then it got another name, and then they went from now I always get these letters back to front, TVFC, TFVC, Team Foundation Version Control, and then they added in Git, but they added it in the on-prem server. And every time you tell someone Azure DevOps, they assume, well, actually before that, when it was Visual Studio Team Services, they assume cloud, but you can do the services server on-prem, and then they rename the whole lot to Azure DevOps. But what they didn't, exactly. And you can take that TFS, the old TFS, you can check out all your repo and check it into Azure DevOps in either Git or TFVC. But if you want history, there are command line tools that you can run against your on-prem TFS that will basically dump out the history and at the same time create a new Git repo with every version in it. Or you can restrict the days, I think it is, of versioning, but I do everything. It'll recreate a local Git repo, and then you just import that into the cloud. And you go, there you go, TFS on-prem, boom, up in Git in the cloud. And it takes, I think the repository I'm working with at the moment goes back to about 2015, I want to say, if not earlier, and it took about 5 hours to do the migration. Not a huge artifact repository, still reasonably sized, but not massive.
Right.
So you sort of, as long as it fits within a weekend, because you kind of want everyone to make sure all their files are checked in, everything's up to date. Then anyone who's got access to the TFS repo can run these commands. I think it's git TFS clone is the command. Git TFS is the tool, and clone is the command. Then you tell it what repository on-prem you're looking at, whether you're looking at a branch, whether you want to take all the branches, whether you want to take all the history. You also need to give it a user file, because Azure AD is different to Windows Auth in terms of usernames and everything. So it's like you can give it an authors file so it can translate all the on-prem check-ins and switch out the name for the Azure AD name. So when you're in Azure DevOps, you get that complete history.
That's awesome.
Pretty cool.
That is really cool.
Yeah. So I'm like, and now I've worked on Git for a little while. I'm okay with it. And an ex-coder background, I'm okay with branching. But it's so interesting watching new people learn Git and new people learn branching. I just go, oh, I forgot how hard it was, because I've been doing it for long enough now that it's not hard. But new people,
it is hard at first.
Hard. And then the concept of TFVC, you can check out at any point, and you can branch at a file, at a folder, at a repository level, and then you switch to Git, and you have to bring down the whole thing, and then you switch branches, and it replaces your local, and they're just like, what's going on? Why can't I see the other branch? It's like, you can, but you can only see one at a time, unless you clone it again. But they're so used to working with TFVC where you just have them sort of sit there side by side and you just plug away. But it's been really, really fun watching them learn. And the challenges they experience are so different to the challenges I experience, because it's been a little while now since I've been on the learning curve for that. So it's like, how's this?
And I think that's something that we all have to recognize when we're working with more junior people is we didn't always know. We had to learn, and you have to be kind and supportive and, you know, helpful to get them to learn, and not be condescending and dismissive and, you know, put them down for not getting it right.
The best mentors I've had are those who just pointed me in the right direction. They didn't do it themselves. And they didn't offer any unsolicited criticism. They just said, you know, check this out, you know, this might be helpful. And I'm here if you need any questions answered. That's mentoring is a skill. It's something that, at least in the tech industry, it is so underrated, really underrated. I have some really good mentors where I work. The guy who taught me PowerShell, Mark Wilkinson, he's among the most amazing mentors that I've seen. He never micromanages or tells you what to do. It's just, this is what you need to work with. This is what you need to play around and find out what you need to understand. So yeah, I really appreciate a good mentor whenever I can find one, but they're not easy to find. And I try to be one when I can. I'm told that I'm a good one, but still need to work on it.
It's such a fine balance though, because you don't want to become the crutch of someone where they're feeling empowered to do stuff. So you do want to give them that hint and go like, I'm here to help you. It's not that I don't want to help you, but I want to make sure you're giving things a go instead of instantly asking for help. If you can give it a go first, and when you get stuck, like don't spend forever till you get stuck. As soon as you get stuck and you need that little bit of help, don't be afraid to ask. So it's like you want to help them, but you don't want to become the crutch for them. So
exactly.
They don't go self-fine. Even I was so shocked that AKMS Learn, I don't know whether that's like ingrained in my body of go look there for training and learning. People still don't know that exists.
Yes.
And I'm just like, Microsoft give you all this stuff you can learn from.
For free.
Fact, a lot of do. Yeah, for free.
Yes.
It's a bit scary when you get the one where the screenshots and the instructions have changed because it's an Azure thing, but the rest is like.
And I love that they have those labs where just right there in the Learn page, you click and it opens up the, you know, a virtual terminal or whatever with the portal in it, and you can do exactly what it's telling you, and you can just practice. Because I'm not a good reader. I want to do it, and that will solidify in my head, oh, this is how you do it. Reading it doesn't. So the actual physical doing, the setting the connection strings up and going through all of the steps.
Yeah.
So I like that they have those in there. One of the things I was thinking about when you were talking about problem solving with the junior people, I always tell the people that I mentor and work with, time box it. Give yourself an hour to figure it out. If you have worked an hour on something and you haven't made any progress, ask somebody. Don't spend 2 days trying to figure something out, and because somebody knows the answer, right? And you don't need to suffer and struggle so much that, you know, you're frustrated to no end. An hour, maybe 2. Time box that. Okay, I'm going to give myself this long to figure it out, and if I don't, then I'm going to ask somebody. And I think that's a really good process when you're, you know, learning something or trying. You've got a stretch goal at your contract or whatever that you can't quite figure out how to do it, and your client's like, when are you going to get this done? Right? You don't need that extra stress. Ask somebody.
Well, when you see their excitement as well, you just want to tell them, hey, if you're comfortable with it, let's do a show and tell with the rest of the team.
Yep. And
you get that enthusiasm between the team going, hey, I learned this week. Oh, what about this? Oh, I learned this week. And it could be even something simple like Teams. Hey, I learned we could do notifications in Teams to let the rest of the team know when we're doing something instead of having to book a meeting or send an email out. It's like, let's just do a group in Teams. Yeah, but a lot of people don't know how to use Teams. And so even simple things like how can we use the tools that we've got available to us to be even more efficient and have fun with it, you know?
Yes.
I saw one today. It was something about games. I can't remember if it was Power BI or Power Platform, but it reminded me of the Cloud Skills Challenge, the webpage. So I haven't delved into it yet. It's saved in my pocket, but it was gamification. I'm like, ooh, it's going to be fun.
Absolutely. What types of games do you play? Like real games?
None.
You don't play
No.
the games? You don't,
No.
not even like Wordle? You don't do Wordle?
Oh, hang on. Yeah, I try.
Okay.
I try and do Wordle, but I get to about the third one and
Yeah,
just
the
go.
thing about Wordle is that it started creating stress for me. Like I would get really stressed out when I don't get it right, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to add to this pile. I'm going to go, no, I don't want this anymore. But
See, I'm
it's
a
fun.
shocker.
Yeah.
I'd wake up at like 2 a.m. and just be like, oh, I'm just going to check my phone in case any notifications have come up. And then I start doing Wordle. And so I forget what day I've actually done it on. And then later in the day, I'm like, oh, crap, I've got to do Wordle. I haven't done it yet. But I would just forget because I do it at random times. And then I started using Wordle Solver because I was so hopeless at it. And then someone showed me the 4 one. And I'm like, as if Wordle wasn't hard enough for me. You want me to do 4 on the one screen? Like, no. Nah, I have played, I'm going to remember the name. There's one where you're like a little character and you go around a map and you have to go through secret little mazes and things. I forget what that's called. But I used to play that on my phone all the time. But now I pretty much watch TV and play on my computer with stuff and spin up Azure things to have a bit of a play. Except for I totally forgot about the cost side of Azure sometimes.
Right.
And go, I've learned
Yeah.
to use the feature now. The budget and cap feature is turned
That
on.
can be an expensive thing to forget.
Oh yeah, it's also very hard.
I left
to
my
demo.
Synapse instance unpaused over a weekend, and that was a $400 mistake.
I did that one. I'm only thankful that it's tax deductible. Here in Australia, I can tax deduct it, but it's like $300. What was I thinking?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
So, word to the wise, if you go out and spin up an instance of Synapse, be sure to pause it when you're done. Don't forget.
or at least do it in your MSDN subscription if you've got access to one, or turn on the budgeting cap feature so that it automatically disables your subscription when you reach a cap. Just disable it.
There are ways that you can make sure you don't blow a lot of money.
Oh yeah, it's like, but you think it's an obvious thing, but when you're trying to play with stuff, and even when you're working in an org, your objective is to build the solution, get it working, operationalize it. You know, you're not really thinking about the governance and the maintenance. It's like an afterthought for so many things, and that's still not changing anytime soon. It's getting there. Governance and admin and monitoring is getting more and more earlier on in projects, but still, it's still a bit too late.
I did a presentation last Friday to the University of New Mexico Women in Tech group, and they have a data career speaker series. And so I kicked that off for them. And so I talked about my career and challenges that I'd faced and you know, things over the years. And I forgot where I was going with that. What were you saying right before I started talking?
Ooh, admin, monitoring, governance.
Oh, governance. One of them asked me what I thought the future of like tech and where we're going. And I said that I really think that organizations have started to recognize that they need to do stuff earlier in the process to really realize the value of data analysis and machine learning and AI. You have to have those pipelines with clean data coming through. And I think that recognizing that we need to invest in those foundational data processes. You have to have the ETLs, you have to have the governance and what data is and what things mean and all of that hard work that there really isn't any value in for the business, right? It's not like you get a fancy report or an AI, right? But that's what comes from doing that foundational work. And if you don't do the foundational work, then all your flashy stuff is wrong. It doesn't matter how flashy it is if your data isn't right. And so you get to the very end and the CEO is like, well, these numbers are completely wrong. I know there's no way we make this much money. So it doesn't matter. And you've spent all of this money creating this flashy thing without spending the money to make sure that the data is right. And the foundation of what you're building all of your analysis on is correct. And so I really think that businesses started to realize that, oh, we need to invest in that foundational piece in order to really realize the benefit of AI, machine learning, and all the cool reporting stuff.
Well, and so many times, so many orgs will blame it on the platform. They'll blame it on the tools, and the platform will go, oh, that product's wrong. We need to use another product. It's like, no. Your data is not as clean as you'd like.
Yes. Data is always dirty. Data is always dirty.
Yeah. Or they assume it's an IT responsibility. IT will take care of that. And it's like, well, IT, yeah, they maintain a lot of your systems. They run them. They might build your data entry apps and everything, but they don't define what that data quality needs to be.
No.
If you tell them, I just want a field on an app, and they build you Power App or web app, and it's just a field.
I like to just understand how clean it is. It's never totally clean. It's just a question of degree. It's just how much, has it gone through any cleansing at all? Or, is it 50% reliable? Or it's only a question of degree. It's never totally clean. No data is totally clean. I don't think so. Yeah.
And then the harder part is if you leave it for too long, like if you don't do your data and analytics project sometime close to when you're capturing the data,
right.
For years, and then you start reporting on it.
Very
Some
true.
of it you can't even clean up. It's like, we can't go back a general ledger 5 years ago and be like, oh, that's the wrong cost in it. It's like, it's already past the fiscal year now. So
too late. Yeah.
You're just gonna have, maybe your reporting's gonna just be like, these are all unknown. Like,
yes,
that's all you can do.
And you have to have the business involved to do that. IT can't make those decisions. IT doesn't know how your business, especially if you have consultants coming in to do the work, they don't know your business. You have to get the business users in there that know, oh, well, and the people that are doing the data cleansing now, because somebody's cleansing the data now. And usually it's your data scientists or whoever's doing your reporting, right? They get a set of data and they know all of the cleansing that has to happen before they can do their report. And really what has to happen is that knowledge needs to be transferred to the ETL team so that they can build that in and say, oh, if it's A, B, or C, then it comes in as Z. So that we all know that this Z is, top dog or whatever it is, but those rules, somebody knows those rules, and you have to find out who in your organization knows those data cleansing rules that are already being put into place by someone and automate it.
And it's never ending. It's not like you do it once and you're done.
No.
No. It's like we've done the initial phase and we'll do a revisit phase. It's like,
yes.
The data.
So I love what Leslie said about automating data cleansing. Like, if there is an area of work that will never dry out, it is that.
Yes.
Like, opportunities for forever automation, getting to data cleansing. It's not
migrations.
Yeah.
Migrations and cleansing.
Yes. Oh.
At least that's the beauty of our field, like getting to do all these different things. It's pretty cool. It's like you can spend your time doing data cleansing, or you can spend your time doing data science. It's like there's so many opportunities. Like, data science didn't exist when I was going through university, and now you've got hundreds and hundreds of people studying it and coming out of universities all the time. And
Yep.
Well, I'd say it existed. It just wasn't called by that name. And it was much harder to do because of the availability of data sets wasn't all that much.
And we wouldn't have had the compute power.
Yeah, that too. Well, that goes the hand in hand with how much data has proliferated in terms of size and availability. That's why we need so much compute power, because we have so much data, and we never used to have that before.
It's not getting any smaller either.
Right.
No, just more.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That was a great discussion. That was fun.
Love these.
So what blogs or people do you follow to learn new stuff or stay current in technologies?
That is a tough one. So I will plug one of my most favoriteest things to watch. Well, actually, there's two things I like to watch all the time, which is the Microsoft. Now that I think about it, there's 3 or 4. But so I like to watch Troy Hunt talk about data breaches, security, the latest IoT thing he's playing with at his house, or the Lego build. He does it his posts, I think once a week, he'll do a YouTube podcast. Guy in a cube. As long as I'm not volunteering on the same day, I will get up at it's between midnight and 2 a.m., depending on a Sunday morning. I'll get up and I'll watch Guy in a Cube. Love watching that. I put it on the projector on the wall. It's great. It's great fun to watch. But then I can't keep up with the chat. The chat is like so quick. It's like I can't keep up with the content in the chat. And then Microsoft Mechanics, because they do quick little 10-minute videos on everything, like data platform, Office 365, Azure AD, infrastructure and VMs, like you name it, they've got a video on it. And so when I'm on the tram going to the office, or if I'm going to a client and I'm on public transport, I can get in a Microsoft Mechanics video. So I did those. And then I have the AKMS Learn post, the AKMS PBI training. There's also the ADF one, all the inner days. I go through those from time to time, but then I go attend SQL Saturdays, Data Saturdays, all different events, Definity over in New Zealand. I'll attend, I attended a space day here in Adelaide a couple of years back just to diversify. Little did I know they were going to have graphs about dams and water and charting over time. And I was like, oh, this is the data event too, because space is becoming huge in South Australia. So
in New Mexico too. We have the space station down down south.
It's cool to get the different perspective. Like when I come over to Seattle and I meet people, it's like, oh, what do you do? Oh, I work on hedge funds. And I'm like, I can't even imagine the amount of data you play with. I'm like small fish in a big pond over here. Like my version of big data is a couple of 100 gigs and your version of big data is petabyte scale. I'm like,
Meredith Ryan, she works at Salesforce. She tons of data, like so much data. I'm like, I can't even imagine working with that much data.
I can't even fathom it. Like the techniques, I love talking to those people because you learn about the techniques that they use working with that data. And not all of them transition between small data sets and big ones, but some of them it's out of the box thinking. I'm like, oh, never thought of that. And then people, Melissa Coates, really love her stuff for Power BI.
Yes.
Reza and Layla, all of their stuff on Power BI and AI.
Melissa's teaching a Power BI class at the summit with Matthew.
It's going to be, is he doing with Matthew? I saw the announcements, but I didn't.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That session. I was talking to my boss yesterday and it's it's not something that we do at work, but they're both amazing presenters. I think that should be a total blast.
It'll be great. And
that would be a great session.
Chicago.
Yeah.
In September, they've got a conference in Chicago. Now I'm going to get it wrong. Data Insights Summit.
Yeah.
Is coming to your world. And then occasionally, if I'm doing T-SQL stuff, I'll check out Stack Overflow, SQL Server Central. I do Rob's blog every so often when I need time zone queries. Because I know he's got a blog post on it. I'm like, what is that? What about the time zones? Yeah, there's all sorts of different people. I stream through Twitter and something comes up. I'm like, oh, interested in that. I hit the limit of edge tabs on my phone. And so then I'm adding them to Instapaper and Pocket. I'm like, read that later. Put that on the YouTube, watch later. There's a guy, I'm going to get his name wrong. I forgot his name. But he does these, the Azure admin exams, AZ, I think it's 900 and 104 and ones like that. He has these study cram sessions on YouTube. And it's hours and hours of content. And you can just go through and watch it and get ahead of the certifications of what you need to know. And he demos it. He's got I don't think it's a Surface Hub, but maybe it is. It looks like a giant whiteboard that he's drawing on computer screen whiteboard, and he'll draw the concepts out.
Oh, very cool.
And I'm like, this is great. Depending on how you like to learn. So I am very sporadic in my blogs, my reading and everything. And behind me is all these books. So I have Head First series for Python. I've got the SQL internals books. I pick them up at conferences. I've got, voices from, now I'm going to get it wrong, Marla, Voices from the Field, I think. And I've got,
I have that.
I have the DevOps books. I have DevOps, so I have the Phoenix Project, and I think
that's a great book. Everybody should read the Phoenix Project.
Yes.
I've got
and I believe there is a sequel to it too. I haven't read that.
There is.
Read it? I got them all, and then I have Kindle. Yes. I think it's the Unicorn Project. Yeah, there's the DevOps Handbook, the Phoenix Project, and I think there's even a third one. You know, I have the Stephen Few ones. I have DAX Patterns, Definitive Guide to DAX. I have the Kimball books. I have 2 copies of the Kimball books because people wanted to borrow them. So I bought myself a second copy so I can loan out one set and have one set all the time. I have all sorts of learning resources. I'm still not very good at audiobooks. I try, but I tend to like tune out if I'm not. I can do read and listen to the audio, but if I just do audio, I'll just zone out and do other things.
Yeah, I'm not good on audio.
Yeah, right. But I do love audiobooks. They're quite time efficient, but yeah, I'm just not focused.
So I think as somebody that finds it difficult to like really dive deep into, you know, with ADHD, squirrel, right? Being able to in tech have any topic you want, you can learn about anything. I may not be very good at all of those things, but I know enough about them that I can read a Python script or figure out what a doc statement is doing, or just enough that I can sound intelligent talking to somebody about that topic and not be, you know, not feel like I'm an idiot just in that one thing, because there's so much. There's no way you can learn it all. There's just no way.
But did you feel a bit lost? Like people are like, oh, you can be a generalist or a specialist. And I was always
I believe we are in the era of the generalist.
Yeah.
I believe
I
a lot of companies are asking for width in skills compared to knowing 1 or 2 things in a lot of depth. I'm from the era when I thought I would retire just being a SQL Server person. I was halfway through getting my MCM when they took it away. And I genuinely believed that was all I needed, is if I understood SQL Server top to toe, you know, I'd be good through retirement. That's no longer true. And so if you actually know, like what Leslie said, a little bit of Python, a little bit of this and that, and you can pull different things together, they want that more than they do somebody who's an ace Python programmer but can do only that.
Yeah.
So the market is definitely headed in the way of more generalist skills, at least as of now.
I think one person described to me once the T strategy, where it's like you have a quite breadth of knowledge, but then you have a few topics where you might go a little bit deeper.
Yes.
I find the struggle, because I like generalist, is I'm like, oh, data platform, DevOps, I like them both. And when new things are flying out of the, because I'm a Microsoft fan, clearly with Microsoft shirts and everything, I love Microsoft, but trying to keep up, I'm like, brain overload. I'm like, you got power, like now I'm using like Power Apps and Power Automate. I'm like, that's a whole nother world. And then they integrate with Teams, and then it's Office 365, then it's SQL 7, then it's Azure SQL. Then you got all the different pipelines, and don't get me started on the fact that everything's called a data flow here, data flow there, and they're different. And that's like one ecosystem. Well, it's a couple of ecosystems, but it's
just
so
one small piece. We haven't even gotten into networking and Terraform and infrastructure, and you know that there's a whole other Azure world out there that deals with all of that kind of stuff.
It does. And when you love it and you enjoy it, it is like overwhelming. Like, which thing do I pick today? Like, I like that and that. It's like, all right, my brain can only take in so much. I'm going to have to pick one for today. It's like, I'm going to learn that today.
In January, I spoke at Code Mash, which was really cool. It was a great conference up in Ohio. And I did their pre-cons are called pre-compilers. And so I went to a pre-compiler on IoT, and it was so cool. We got a little bread box, and we did the programming and connected it to the computer and made the lights turn on and off and made the lights change colors. And it had a like a temperature and humidity sensor, and I like blew on it and watched the humidity go way high. But it was so cool to actually like be hands-on on a device and really, you know, feel engineering and technical, like really technical, like building something that is physical, because building data things and it's all virtual. It's not something that's tangible that you can hold. And I really enjoyed being able to like touch it and build something. And that was probably my favorite session out of all the ones I went to at Code Mash was my IoT. It was
I love that
cool.
a pre-compiler.
I know. Isn't that funny?
I'm in that in the data platform world. I'm like,
I know.
love it.
Compilers. So yes, that was a good conference. Really liked that one.
It
Yeah.
gets you enthusiastic about it too. When you see that art of the possible, you just like, I watched Layla present once, and I reckon it might have even been in Portland with the weather sensor and I reckon it was a weather sensor and a Raspberry Pi. And I was like, right, I'm going shopping. After the session, I was like off to the nearest.
I have to go buy a pie.
I need to get a Raspberry Pi. I need to get a weather sensor. I just want to put this at home.
Yes.
Now I cheat and I have all the like Xiaomi little things.
Oh, nice.
Like, they're already done for me. But it's just seeing all that stuff. You know, when they turned SQL on the edge and they had like the robotics arm and they're sending sensor data, I'm like, that's how they do it. I'm like, that's how they run all these manufacturing plants. I'm like, they just have them on a computer screen and it's all automated. I'm like, really? And then it's like, how do you get into that? Like, I don't remember a university course that said manufacturing IoT.
Yes. So Matt Gordon posted about a session that he's going to go to at Data Grid.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yes, this guy, he's doing an IoT using Formula One race car data. And like, I know, I'm like, oh, I'm going to that session.
I've heard they use a lot of Power BI and stuff. But
oh, I know. Oh, I'm super excited to go see that session. So, yeah.
And isn't it fun? Like you don't see it until you see someone like present on it, and you're like, I'm so glad they had the confidence to come out and give a presentation on this topic. It seems so niche, but there's so much interest in it because people are like, really? That's happening in the world? You can do that? It's like, yeah. And then when you see it, you start to think about all the things that you can apply it to that you're seeing in your day-to-day, and you're like, oh, hang on.
So I believe if somebody has a passion for something, they can make the most boring topic appealing.
Yeah.
So the city of Albuquerque has a tech conference every year, and New Mexico Tech, and the city actually did a presentation on their IoT stuff. So they have a like an IoT. It used to be like it's called Pinot Yards. I guess they did like truck maintenance, right? It was like a work yard, and they have set it up to have like IoT lights so that they could do analysis on that. And they had, from one of our boot camps, this group came in and they figured out that they could put an IoT device on all of the garbage trucks that drive through the city every day to find potholes, because those trucks drive on every street of the city every week. And they could measure when the bumper like went down and find big potholes to proactively send the street maintenance out to fix it. I'm like, that's genius. That is genius.
You mentioned trying to get that through for approval. It's like, I want to put a sensor on every garbage truck. What?
Exactly. But doesn't that make total sense?
Absolutely. Oh, I got the best story where they like my sister is in a whole different field to me. And it's hilarious when she lives like 2 hours away. We're in the car together and here's me going, hey, Google, like change the song. And my phone was like not reacting. I'm like, damn it. And Christy's my sister. She's like, oh, my Google's reacting. But she's like, you know, those little buttons on your steering wheel can change the song too. And I was like, oh. So I'm like so used to like my home automation that I forget that there's lesser tech options. And she's like, yeah, you can just flick the light switch if you need the lights on. And so it's kind of fun to get that reality check sometimes to go, oh, I'm so used to thinking in a tech way that I forget the normal.
There's an analog version of that.
You know, and then you get frustrated at the tech instead of just going, you know what, if Google's not reacting or Alexa's not reacting to me turning on the lights, I can just walk over and turn the switch. It's fine.
Oh.
Anything else that we want to chat about?
This has been a great talk.
Yes, it has. Absolutely.
Wow. We should talk about Azure Data Studio too.
Okay, sure.
I love Azure Data Studio. People still don't realize it's there. Like I
actually realize it's there. It's just that I think two things. My take on Azure Data Studio. One thing is that they put us into two separate boxes, DBAs and developers, and targeted SSMS at DBAs. And this, I don't work at a job where those boxes are so clean cut. Like we straddle both of those from time to time. We use a lot of query store. There's no query store in Azure Data Studio. So, there are things that are across both, and that makes it harder. And I would like to see a time when there is just one tool. That is just my thing. That either party can use, or people who have a mix of responsibilities can use. So yeah, that's my 2 cents on Azure Data Studio. Go on. But
that is totally a fair call. Like, admittedly, I use SSMS a lot because I'm sitting there in managed instance and the integration services catalog. So it's just easier to work in SSMS.
Right.
Like, I really love the idea of notebooks in Azure Data Studio, but I also struggle to push that on, like not push it on people, but I know the value of it and I know how good it can be, but trying to then say to an org, yeah, you got this really cool notebook, but you have to have Azure Data Studio installed to use it.
Right.
Because if you're using T-SQL, it's the only tool that allows it. So it's kind of like, I really want to like say, yeah, use this tool, but then I'm also like, I don't want you to be hamstrung that this is the only thing you can use it in. But I do say to them, if you need a tool that loads really quickly, go in at Azure Data Studio. If you're just running a bit of T-SQL query and you need a quick IDE that comes up quick, I use that. Or to save all your, if you're not constantly typing your server address, you're a data analyst for an org that does ad hoc, maybe like once in a month or something, and you don't want to remember all the connection strings, it's nice to have them all stored there. And I only learned the other day, I think it's registered servers in SSMS can pull your Azure Data Studio connections in. So then
that's nice.
Out there, I'm like, genius. I mean, sure, my AAD credentials wrong, but I'm like, I can deal with that. I'm all cool with that. But it's a cool tool. But I can totally agree that
I like the notebook part of it. I think that's the coolest piece, is being able to create notebooks from it.
It's searching files. Like, I'll load up a folder full of, I might even connect Azure Data Studio to the entire repository at a company and be like the Git or the TFVC, and I'll just search all the files for something I'm looking for. I'm like, it's a wicked grep engine. I'm like, just go in and be like, I'm looking for this table and any file that's got it referenced. And then it just comes up as a nice list. And I'm like, perfect. All right, I need to go into that solution and that one.
Nice. That's a handy trick.
It's got its handy moments. I think it was never going to be feature parity with SSMS, but then at the same time, it's kind of like half baked. So there are some really good things, but you're never going to get rid of SSMS. And then, you can use them together, but then trying to train teams to be like, well, which one do I use? And then you get in that whole argument of, I use this one and I use that one. And then you got to create two sets of snippets and 2 sets of shortcuts and notebooks or non-notebooks,
Right.
Yeah. It's a fun one, but as a consultant, every tool in the box, whatever tools I can get, I'm like, every tool in the box. And then when they added the fact you could do multiple languages in a notebook, I'm pretty sure that's out. Yeah, that came out the other month. I'd heard they were thinking about it, and then it came out and I went, perfect, because I can do my PowerShell to go check a user in AD, and then I can run my SQL to go check their permissions on a database.
Yep.
All in the one notebook. I'm like, yes. Because so often I'm running the PowerShell terminal and the SQL query.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm like, Active Directory commands. So much. I forget you have to install extra features, and as a consultant I'm starting to remember that. It's like I go into a client and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll just run this command. Oh, what do you mean? I've got to have admin privilege.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, I forgot about all these things. And I'm like, is there another way to get this? And I tell you, if you're out there listening and you don't have a blog, start writing your internal blog, because all these things you're going to forget. And it's so handy to have a blog to be like, how did I do that again?
Yep.
Even I was doing JSON, unpacking JSON with T-SQL. And I'm like, oh, I can run this command and that'll save me some time. And then I put it in a blog and I'm like, right, put that in a blog. I'll need that later.
Next time you need it, you're like, oh, didn't I write about that? And you search and your blog comes up. You're like, oh, there it is. I did.
And I know where to find it, because I'm struggling when I search for ADF things at the moment. I'm like, ADF this. And I'm like, oh, that's not the right search term. So I'm like, what about this? And I actually rung Hamish Watson in New Zealand. He's a mate of mine. I'm like, Hamish, I need to know if this is possible. And I need some help with some pointers because my Google Fu is just not working. I'm like, I can't find it.
Hamish is awesome. He's great.
Yes.
He's totally awesome. He's always there to help. And he's only like 3 hours ahead of me. So if I get the right time, I can get in touch with him over the phone. I'm like, help.
And I'll say that's probably one of the best things about the whole SQL community and knowing people is somebody's out there to help you. Somebody will help you.
Yes.
You just have to ask, and somebody will say, sure.
I tell people I have 3 to 4 families. I have like my biological real family, and then I have my volunteer family for orgs that I volunteer with, and then I have my SQL family, and then I'm never sure whether the Power BI, Power Platform family is also the SQL family. So I'm like, I also have them. And so
they're the data platform family. We're all the data platform family.
I love the data platform family, and it's welcoming. It's like everyone in, but I do miss meeting you all in person. Like,
yes,
I really want to get over to Seattle later in the year because I'm like, I miss seeing everyone and meeting new people, and then meeting the people who are new to the conference who don't know the SQL family exists. It's like, did you know about the SQL family? And they're like, what? And I'm like, yeah, this
is the whole family. Like we all love each other.
Yeah. And they're like, well, you can just tweet. And I'm like, yeah, I tweeted once, I'm in San Francisco, anyone free for dinner? And then I'm going to dinner with another member of the SQL family who happened to work at SurveyMonkey. And I'm just like, I never would have known. Right. And we're in the same pre-con like a couple of days earlier at PASS. So I was just like, this is great.
It's great. It's all about community.
Yeah. And it's so awesome as well to get new people who they really want to meet a speaker or talk to them, but they're all like petrified. They're like, oh no, I can't. They're celebrity status. And it's like, no, you'll learn pretty quickly after you ask 1 or 2 of them. And then you're like, oh, they're all approachable. It's like, yeah, we're all here to help. Like, we want everyone to have a good experience in this community. It's like, you just walk up and be like, hi, I'm, so-and-so. This is what I do. I just wanted to say hi. I did it to Drew once. I was like, hey, Drew. I saw him at PASS. I'm like, oh, hey, I use your extensions for ADS. They're awesome. Yep. I'd never met him before then. And he's like, oh, that's great. I was like, thanks.
All right, ladies, I need to hop off and get to the...
Okay. Well, this has been a great talk.
Yes.
Thanks so much for joining us, Heidi.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Anytime.
All right.
So we'll get the recording out sometime next week. Have a happy holiday weekend. I think it's a holiday for us.
Congratulations on winning your election.
Oh, congrats. Yes. Oh, yes.
We've finished for like 4 years. I'm like, we're done. We've had a state election, a federal election.
Yeah,
this
I know.
Coaster. I got MVP this year. I'm like, yeah. Because I'm not a government MVP. It's the first time I've been eligible. I was like, yes. And then I'm like, oh my God, how do you people keep up with all the information? It's like fire hose. I'm like, all right.
All right. Well, hopefully we will get to see you at Summit and we can hug and talk in person. And all the rest of you can come to Summit too, because it's a blast.
Yes.
Absolutely. Go to any conference in your area. If you're not sure where to find some, there's a data community events page. You can find all of them around the world. If you're not sure about a user group, Power Platform has a user group forum. Data Platform has one too.
And hashtag SQL family, just, tweet at us and we'll say hi.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.